Good morning and welcome to the April 17th regular meeting of Caradoc Housing Corporation. For roll call, we have absent with notice Mayor Grantham. Everyone else is in attendance. Can I get a motion to approve the April 17th, 2024 Caradoc Housing Corporation meeting agenda? Frank? Heather? All in favor? Thank you. Any declarations of pecuniary interests? Okay, seeing none. Move to approval of the minutes. Can I have someone to motion the minutes be approved as written? And this is the minutes from March 13th, 2024, regular meeting minutes, and special meeting minutes of March 22nd, 2024. Right? Sorry?
I saw a problem in the, there's just some, it's just weird stuff, like saying that I joined the after hours meeting at 2:30 p.m.
Oh yeah, that's just an e-scribe issue. Yeah, I'll go in there and adjust
Yeah,
that.
it was just,
Okay.
other than that, it's
Yeah.
Just a little housekeeping issue. Okay. Thank you. Frank has motioned that. Can I get someone to second it? Yeah, Jeff, thank you. All in favor? And the adjustments will be made. Thanks for noting that. All right, financial matters. We have our 5.1 is our accounts, and we're looking for a motion to approve the check detail report, that it be received for information, and that was in your package. Can I get someone to motion that? Heather and Jeff? Any discussion? Heather?
I just have one question on it. There's an invoice for $47,169 to Southside Construction, and I was wondering what that was for. Thank you.
Go ahead, Bill.
I'd be happy to answer that one. So that is due to the, they carry the insurance. We paid them for the insurance and the bonding during construction. And because of the delays, by the time we finished things up, it was, I think when we took possession was February, if I'm not mistaken. So it's the difference between November, I think, when we paid their lapse, they had to extend the insurance and the bonding for those couple of months. And that's the bill for that, the extension of the insurance and the bonding for that building.
Will we be getting any more bills from Southside that you're aware of for this project, or are we finished with their billing, or?
There may be, again, I'm not sure, but there may be like a slight holdback of like 13,000 or something like that. But my understanding is we're now done with Southside, unless there's some holdback, which are standard with any construction project.
Thank you. Okay, did we received that for information? Yes. I believe we did, right, Jen? Yep. Thank you. Okay, 5.2, this is the March 24 balance sheet and March 24 profit or loss sheet. We have a motion to receive the reports for information. Heather, seconded by Frank. Questions? Heather?
Of course. I noticed in the profit and loss that January we were at a positive, February at a positive, and then March we took a big dive in the profit and loss. And the profit and loss says minus 72,000, and the profit and loss budget versus actual reads minus 52. I'm confused as to why we're now in such a negative mode.
Mr. Dakin?
I'm working on that one right now.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking them up myself.
Sorry, okay, so the profit and loss for March is for that month, and the 72, if you look at the so there's 78,000 in the suspense account, which then clears in, when did that clear? Because if you look at the profit and loss January to March, you're now seeing a credit of 14,000. So if you take that 78,000 in that suspense account, which the credit balance in February, so there was a credit balance in February that then does the offset. So the actual, if you really want to look at where the corporation sits, the number is the January to March number. Because there was a credit. So it would have been the opposite way in February. You would have seen a credit for the 78,000, which would have kind of overinflated the income. But then this went through and that 78,000 is money that was paid to First National once we signed the mortgage letter saying that we were locking in the rate. We had to pay a deposit at that point, and then that deposit was refunded. So they wash each other out to the tune of less than $14.
So what would
Your
what state are
actual-
we at now?
Your actual right now to $52,000 loss.
Okay. Okay,
The
thank you.
picture's getting better.
Any other questions? Frank?
Perhaps we could have Bill maybe talk a little bit about the balance sheet. We're showing a negative on the GST payable, which I understand is a refund that's being applied for, which is a sizable amount, which would then go towards the money owed to the municipality. And then there's also mortgage holdbacks receivable of about $509,000 as well. So between those two, it adds up to almost $2 million. So maybe you could talk a little bit about I guess how much we can expect back there, whether those amount, all of that, or a good chunk of that, and when that would happen. So.
Thank you. So what I'll do is actually start at the top of the page for you and just highlight a few things as we walk our way down. So at the top of the page, you've got your bank account. So you got 750,000, well, not quite 50,000, 749,000 sitting in the bank. That's cash. Then you have your reserve fund. And then we move down to, as Frank has pointed out, the 509 in holdbacks. So that is a combination, as you recall, when we went to sign the final mortgage, there was some discussion around HST coming back because we also had to self-assess on the building, so as if we bought it. So obviously the government wants their portion of any sales, so we'd have to self-assess. So there was some discussion with the lawyers and First National that between the two of them, they would hold back some funds for the mortgage, as well as some, where is my sheet here? Sorry. No, not that one. One too many pieces of paper here. So, it's made up of basically, First National held back some tax, of 20,000. Basically, that's kind of what they calculate the net result of our HST would be. So we'd owe about 20,000. There also was a $126,456 holdback till we got to our rental achievement amount. So full rent up, they held back money just in case they needed to cover a few of their mortgage payments. So they've held that back, as well as then or the lawyers, I guess, would be the bet between our two lawyers, held back another $362,720. $270 for HST as well, to make sure that we met that. So that adds up to your 509,446, which should come back to us now that once we file our HST, and you can see there's an HST credit of the 1.3 million. So we're just in the process of filing for that. So once the government decides if everything's kosher with our HST return, we will likely see that 1.3, and then that will also free up the other 509, I would suspect as well, that we could apply to the both First National, our mortgage holder, and the two lawyers to get the holdbacks for those amounts. So almost, as Frank has pointed out, almost $2 million would come back, once we free up those things. There is, obviously, that's in the hands of the government as far as the HST, which is a large portion of that. And they have to offset that against, our, self-claiming on our, self-assessment of the building, which, basically we, showed as, because it's, not-for-profit, would be about 0. So there may be some numbers in there, but for right now, these are the numbers that have been presented by, the auditors, and these numbers are the ones that are going to the audit as well. And then I think, as you can clearly see, the 3.1 due to the municipality, so that's made up of the 2 million plus the 1.1 loan. On that 1.1 loan, we have a meeting set up with the municipal lawyer to get that document in place. Everyone's agreed to those amounts, we just need to put a proper document in place, and that needs to get signed. So we're working on that one right now, so that payment schedule can be set up, and we can start, as the corporation can start making those payments to the municipality for the one. And then obviously the funds that we get back, the 1.3 and the 5 could go towards the 2 million that's owing.
Okay, thank you. Heather, was that satisfactory? Yep, sorry, someone has their hand up? Frank?
Yeah, that's good. I think it's good that, you know, we provide, I know there's concern about where the money's going to come from to repay the 2 million, but there's the work is underway to recover that money. So.
Tim, did you want to add something?
In my experience with the self-assessment, and it's just my own personal experience, there's wording in there that says that it's the appraised value or the cost of construction. So even though it's an affordable housing project, you can't use the appraised value, which could be lower than the cost of construction. So from my experience, you can expect a 5.2 out of the 13% rebate on your costs. I've argued with CRA about that extensively because our projects come in typically they come in under the cost, like the appraised value comes in under the cost. And I've never had any luck battling that fight. So just so that you don't have rose-colored glasses on, I would say that you're probably going to expect 5/13 or 5.2/13 that you owe, but that's just for information.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and that is the battle that we're in. We unfortunately are not fighting it ourselves. BDO is fighting it, and in fact, they flagged that right off the bat. So they're well aware of that, and they've had other discussions on these things. So that's why these are the numbers as we sit right now. But it's once that's just was submitted was today. Today's Wednesday, so that was just submitted on Monday. So as that moves through the process, we'll keep you up to date on where things are at.
Great, thank you. The next is 5.3, the budget. So we're going to review the 2024 budget that's been presented. Anybody like to start on that? Yep.
Of course,
Go ahead,
me, the
Heather.
numbers person. I guess I'm a little concerned with this budget that was presented again because it's basically the same budget that was presented in January with only 3 changes to it in any of the fields. So I'm a little concerned, and in the income, I think the market rent one for the market rent apartments for Adelaide is it's too high. We're not going to see that this year. So that concerns me because we're leading people to false, I guess, false representation. To me, why don't we put what we actually feel we will pull out of those rent-wise, rather than putting a figure that really is not gonna be met? That's just my feeling on it.
So I can jump in there quickly. So when we create a budget based on the information we have, which is the number of units and the rent that this organization is charging. So that's how it's based. So if you drop your rent, then we would then correspondingly drop the budget. But basically, what's out in the public is the rent on all of those units. So based on the budget, and a budget is just that. This is based on the best known numbers, and the best known numbers that we have is we know how many units are one bedroom, we know how many two bedrooms are in that Adelaide building, and we know the rent that this board has put forward. So I just multiply those numbers. That's how I do it. If you want to, sort of adjust it for other, then what's the I guess rationale that then inquiring minds are going to want to know. So how did you come up with? So if someone came to me and said, how did you come up with the 253.5? I can tell them we have 8 units at this price, or 9 units, whatever it is. I can empirically tell them what it is. If I fudge that number, then I'm having to defend a number I have no empirical data for.
So is the budget, sorry, Bill, is the budget then a live document? Does it change regularly?
You can if you want.
I'm accustomed to annual budgets.
Right,
So
yeah, so typically that's what you would do. So like, for instance, the municipality, we just passed our budget. We based it on best guess, like, I'll be honest, in there we've got almost $2 million of interest income. If interest rates go through the roof, I'm gonna get more interest, or I'm gonna pay more interest. So it's sort of, you're right, it wouldn't be a necessary living document if you want to go back. I think what you do is, and unfortunately what we're up against on the Adelaide building is we've never operated that Adelaide building before, so we have to sort of use the data that we have. And then as we move through, we can sort of justify, and the nice thing with these numbers is you can then justify, well, we reduced rent, therefore that's why we didn't bring in that amount of money, or whatever. I think it's more data driven as opposed to just, well, we have this speculation that we're not gonna get what we're gonna get. So I'd rather say, here's what we hope to get based on these items. And then when it comes back, we can adjust, we can say, here's the variances and here's why.
Yeah, I was just gonna add that really the actuals is where we see the variances, right? So we establish the budget, so this would go on a sheet, and then beside it, in accounting we'll have where we are year to date. So we'll be able to see, oh, well, we're not hitting that, or we're below in that, or we're over in that. That's the live part, right? And then we kind of know where there's a shortfall. But to develop the budget to start, we need it to balance. First of all, we have to present a balanced budget. Can't, and then we monitor monthly. That would be our fiduciary role, is to monitor that and, discuss, where things are. I mean, I think in a typical budget in a business, you see, you underestimate it on some things and you overestimate in other, and sometimes your balance sheet just all works out in the end anyway. So, yeah, that's just my comment on that. Heather?
I've always worked differently with budgets. We had resets to our budgets, say quarterly. To give an actual picture, I can't make a decision on spending money if I don't see the actual figures, okay? And that's the purpose of a budget reset. I appreciate that this could have been set in January, but we're now in April. I think we're due for a reset to accurately portray what's going on, because I can't tell from this what's going on. That's my only concern, and I can't, when people ask me, in all honesty, say, we are doing great, we're doing little bit, you know. So that was what concerns me, because this is such a public document. I think it has to be, as a board, we have to present it as realistically as we can, okay? And I understand it has to balance, but if it doesn't balance, we have to deal with those issues to make it balance. And if we don't know what the issues are, we can't do it. So that's my concern over this budget.
Thank you. Frank?
I understand what Heather's saying. I wonder if, you know, the numbers here would be the ideal state, I guess, the whole place full and
Okay.
running, right? So can we just add a second column beside that for the Adelaide Road one? Just, this is what it is right now, right? So this is the rent coming, yeah, like what it looks like on a monthly basis right now, right? The expenses might be the same, but certainly the income is not. And I think we have to be realistic. We are running at a loss. It has to be. If we weren't running at a loss, the place, anybody would want to own it. So I wonder if that's something we could take a look at, just to illustrate where we're at this point.
Just so I can clarify before you answer, isn't that a profit and loss?
Yeah, so I was gonna say.
You already got
I can't
profit and
find-
loss
You have it
lined
in
up.
front of you, I don't, it's buried here in this stack of paper. Your profit and loss January to March shows you where you're at.
Yeah.
And I had asked Director Dakin if he could just separate the profit and loss to show Adelaide and Parkview. Because I
So,
think
yeah,
that
yeah, so
will
that-
help us with some clarity there.
We're working on that one as well. So basically then, what we'll be able to do is, and with the permission of this board, I would like to plug in some numbers at some point for budget, so at least then you have the ability to compare where you're at. Otherwise, you're just gonna have actuals. And to be honest with you, that's what I would be, if I was a board member, I'd be speaking to actuals. I wouldn't be speaking to budget, because budget is a look at the beginning of the year. Actuals is where we're at. Actually, right now, you're running a $52,000 deficit. That's actual. That's got really nothing to do with budget. It's got everything to do with actuals. And to be honest with you, that's really what your budget's gonna do once we can get it in there, is say, all right, here's where the shortfalls are. You know, you're already over, you're a third into the year, and you're already, or a quarter into the year, and you're already over budget in this area, or you're under budget on all those things. So I think the sooner we can get the budget in, and the better, and then deal with just the budget to actual. That's what you should be speaking to as a board, is the actuals, not necessarily budget. And you can reset, but again, I think my personal opinion on budget resets is you're adjusting it so you don't have to justify things at the end, to be honest. Because what you're doing is you're closing the gaps as you move along, so at the end of the day, if you're doing budget resets, then there should be no variances by the time you hit year end, because you've reset your budget all the way along, which to me, if I was a board member, I would find that very suspicious from the standpoint of why are we have no variances. So you're always adjusting your budget, so you end up with no variances. I think you want to see variances, you want to see where you're going over budget, you want to see where you're under budget, and those two things. So I think the variances are not necessarily a bad thing, they're indicators of what's going on, and you can manage that way.
Just one more question. I really liked what Frank said. I'd like to see, because we get all this data, and we go through about 5 or 6 reports trying to figure out what's what, I would really like to see on here actual budget, like Frank asked for, because I think that would give us, okay, when the property manager comes to us and says he needs 10,000 to refit something, we can go, oh,
We have an extra 10.
you know, and that's all I'm asking. I guess that's what I would love to see. I will go with this budget if there's a column that gives me what we're actually at, so I don't go through 20 pieces of paper trying to figure out where we're at.
I think that's more than possible. I think what Director Dakin needs from us as a board is us to approve the budget so that he can now input it into the system.
I found my page.
Pardon?
So I found my page.
And then he can provide us with the comparisons.
So really, if you look at it, that, page 17 of your package, or page 2, the profit and loss budget to actual, is just actual, there's no budget.
Yeah.
So I need your budget, so then you can have your budget to actual, and you can sort of see.
But can you, in that budget to actual though, can you separate the
That's
two,
what- yeah,
two
well,
units for us?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so perhaps we need a motion, I'll put a motion on the floor that we accept the budget as presented for 2024. Is someone to motion that? Yeah?
That's what we already
Jeff?
have.
No? Seconded by Frank, all in favor? Passed. There, Director Dakin, there's your budget. Awesome. So next month, we'll have those reports laid out in a much clearer way. We'll be able to see where we're doing well and where we're falling behind. Frank?
So I mean, really all we're illustrating here is that we are a long ways from filling the place. And that's, in essence, that's the bottom line issue today. There's no more issue about construction not being done or all of that kind of stuff. Now it's like the building needs to be filled. And that's the bottom line. So that's all I have to say.
And that's the next section of our agenda. Let's move on then. Tim is, our property manager, is here today with Shannon. And first we need a motion to receive the property management report for information.
Yep.
Jeff, seconded by Heather. All in favor? Passed. Okay, we'll pass that over to you for discussion, Tim.
Okay, so first off, since I sent this last week, we've rented 2 more market 2-bedrooms. So we're at a total of 19 leases signed in the new building. I'm not sure off the top of my head on move-in dates, but the leases are signed, so that's a good sign. We still have yet to rent 1 market 1-bedroom, but the 2 bedrooms seem to be slowly going, which is good.
Tim, just how many 2-bedrooms will be left then, do you know off top?
Ooh, there's 6 total, because there's 4.
There's 9 total,
So we got 4 rented then,
Yeah,
4 out of 9 are rented.
and one single left.
no, there's
No.
lots of singles. We
Oh.
haven't rented 1 market 1-bedroom yet.
The 1-bedrooms,
Whoa.
we have 13 of those.
So we got 13 of those left and 5 2-bedrooms left. 2 and 2.
Yes.
Minus 9 minus 2.
Yes.
Thanks. Okay.
So just to clarify, there's how many, I should know how many units. There's 37
37.
altogether.
We're over 50%.
All right, well, that's positive.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
better than where we had been, so. Shannon's working there now with Levi as well, so we've got extra presence. We're working on getting the office set up, and some more marketing ideas to try to get the units filled. Hopefully the nice weather will bring more people out, and while we're there with a presence, there seems to be people stop by the building, which I'm not really used to people just stopping by, but I think having the presence there will help that. We don't normally get people stopping by at our other properties to see if you have vacancy, so that's kind of new to me. I gave you guys a package for cleaning quotes for Caradoc and landscaping and maintenance quotes. So we had 4 companies bid cleaning. I've attached them all in here. Our recommendation would be to go with Strathroy Residential Clean, partly because we've worked with them in the past, Shannon has, and so she knows them. And our recommendation is to start with a bi-weekly cleaning. 1, the building isn't full, so it's not at full capacity, and 2, this time of year, you're not generating the same level of dirt that you would be in the wintertime. I think that's something that we monitor, but we start with bi-weekly to keep the cost down while the units are not full. But it's the board's ultimate decision. So I'm looking for a motion for that today. And then landscaping also, so we had 3 companies quote landscaping. There's slight variances. Our recommendation would be to go with Ace Property Management and limit their additional hours. So they quoted just the grass cutting and then any additional flower bed maintenance and trimming and that stuff at an hourly rate. So what my recommendation would be limiting that to a set number of hours for the year so that they can't exceed that, or we have the authority to tell them to do that without them going over it and without us having to come back. But the quotes are there as well for the other two that quoted it. The other two also quoted snow, but I don't think, we weren't really looking to award snow today, and we didn't go tendering for snow removal, so I don't want to deal with snow today. I think I'd like to deal with that at a future board meeting. But the grass and outdoor maintenance can't really wait. So those are two things that I'd like to see approved today, if we can, and I'm happy to answer any questions on them. And then the only other thing I'll note is that we've been getting everybody set up in our property management software. So after the report came out, Bill's been given the rent roll to date. So in your budgets, there's some rent missing because it wasn't here yet, but it's all been here now. Bill has it. So the budget actual, or your actual profit loss, will actually be improved slightly better than what it's showing, because there was limited rent in February, but March had some rent, and April is better again. So we're slowly getting there.
Thank you. I just had a question about the limited to 30 hours. Is that 30 hours for the season or 30 hours a month?
No, for the season.
For the season?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions about, I think we should deal with the, well, anything that Tim has brought up. I just don't want to stray. There are other things on the agenda.
No, I know.
Yeah, go ahead.
The only question I have is, what about the other building on Queen Street? What's being done for the cleaning there and the landscaping? Because we're losing Anne, who is exceptional, who I want to mention in this meeting a few times.
Yeah. So Anne's cleaning until the 15th of April.
Yes.
That news came out obviously after we had done this part. We don't have quotes for outdoor lawn maintenance, and I'm happy to get them done, but my understanding was that the municipality had been doing it. So I'm happy to look at outsourcing that if that's the direction from the board, but I haven't got that direction yet. So I assumed at this point that we were status quo on that property, but I know obviously the cleaning side of it and Anne's role is going to have to be replaced, but there's not a plan in place for that today because of the news just recently. So.
Well, I think we need to address Queen as well. I think that's really important because I also know that there's work to be done there. I went in, I did a walkthrough, I took a really good look at it, and at some phenomenal renters. Matt Ann, who I think is phenomenal. But we need to address them. We're concentrating too much on the Adelaide project, and we're letting Queen slide a little bit. So I want them also to be on front and center, and I'd like to see quotes for both the maintenance and the cleaning, because she is leaving on the 15th. I know she's not able to do any of the cleanup outside this year, which she normally does. So we need that in place ASAP.
Okay, Bill, you had a comment?
So grass cutting is done by Tri-Township Arena. They're the ones that cut all the grass at Mount Bridges for the municipality. So they cut at Caradoc Housing, and they also cut all the parks. And
What about Adelaide then?
Well, we'd have to have those discussions.
you've got a quote from them.
Okay.
So that was never added.
I think that we need, yeah, okay. So I think there's some work to be done here. I think that we do definitely need to get the quote added in for Adelaide's cleaning, for sure. Now that Anne's gone, we'll have to look at replacing that. And then perhaps we'll need a quote for the landscaping. If my suggestion would be, if the board's in agreement, is that Tim get us a quote on the landscaping for Adelaide. But at the same time, we could also talk to Tri-Township Arena and see what they would charge, or the municipality would charge, to add Caradoc.
Like, we don't even cut our own grass in Mount Bridges.
Right.
So, I don't think we would have the municipality go over and cut grass. It would be Tri-Township that does all that grass cutting.
So we could ask Tri-Township
Yeah,
Arena if they
yeah.
wanted to bid on it,
If they wanted
essentially.
to. But you've already got that bid, as I understand. Wow.
I have the bids, yes.
But he doesn't
Yeah.
have a bid that includes Adelaide, so I think we need to include Adelaide.
I thought you did.
No,
if
I
you
don't.
Adelaide, he does have Queen Street.
Queen, sorry,
Yeah, yeah.
sorry.
And I don't have anything from Tri.
Or
I have quotes from them.
for
Right,
either,
from the arena.
for either.
I don't personally.
I don't.
Yep.
But I guess, being outside the bubble, I would suspect that they probably didn't quote because
We didn't ask them.
they don't quote on it.
Yeah.
It's not, they're not a landscaping company. They just use the staff that they have to do the arena to look after
They're just doing what they've always done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And to be honest with you, it's probably better if Caradoc does their own stuff anyways and gets
Yeah.
whoever you're gonna get, see what whoever you're going to choose for Adelaide, what they would charge you to do
Yeah.
over at Queen Street. And I think that might be the better bet as opposed to trying to reinvent the wheel with Tri-Township Arena.
So Tim,
Can I
can we,
just ask a question about a comment? Why would that be better? I don't understand. Are we not trying to, like, I'm assuming that Tri-Township is a good deal for us. Why can't we just fold them in?
Tri-Township is the same as Caradoc Housing, it's a separate corporation. It's not municipal, it's not municipally, we own 85% of it as a municipality. So it's a separate corporation, it's, yeah, you might get pricing, but I think if I was a landscaping company and I gave you a quote on one building, I've already got my equipment in town, I'm probably gonna give you a half-decent rate on the other building because we'll cut them both the same day kind of thing, I would suspect, as opposed to Tri-Township, who's gonna then specifically just go over there and then they're gonna, I don't know.
But Bill, the net is, we get a quote
Yeah,
on Queen, and now our costs just went up. Because Tri-Township was doing Queen for free, it sounds.
no, they're not doing it for free, so landscaping is already included in the Caradoc housing budget for Queen Street, already included Tri-Township cutting the grass there, you pay for it, it's not free. Just like when our staff go, well, sorry, let me reword that. When our staff go and shovel your parking lot at Queen Street right now, we don't charge you. We should, but we don't. The only thing that this board pays for, that the municipality does, is bookkeeping. And you're getting a sweet deal on that one.
Well, I'd just like a sweet deal from
Yeah, yeah.
Tri-Townships for
Well,
whatever.
good
That's
luck.
all.
We would like the municipality, so the municipality has to pay Tri-Township to cut our soccer fields. Yeah.
Tim, you had something to add?
So what I don't know from our side, which I'm happy to reach out to whoever is contact I try and figure out with the quote. I see in the budget that there's $5,000 for Queen Street right now towards landscaping. So I'm assuming that that's what our costs are, but I don't know that. I don't know, like they must have the proper insurance and all that stuff to do outside work. Like what happens on liability, it would be my question. Like, do they have, like,
It'd be the municipality, because they're under our insurance.
right? So, I mean, that's another, I don't know how that works. That would be my only note on using them, would be that you're not an arm's length.
Right.
But it makes no difference to me personally, it's just something to be aware of. Same with snow removal. If we're using the municipality's snow removal, it's gonna be on the municipality's insurance liability versus contracting it out. It's on the individuals.
The contractor. Thank you for pointing that out. Heather?
I just want to add one more thing about Queen Street, which might clarify. They don't need just grass cutting. They also need bed looking at, like the gardens, and all the shrubs died there, so there's shrubs that need to be replaced. Tri-City won't do that, I don't believe. Okay, so that's why we probably need to separate ourselves from Tri-City and get a company that will maintain the flower beds, maintain the outside. That's just my opinion. I have no problem with Tim going forward and getting a cost from Tri-City, because they've done excellent work, I know, at Queen. I can't say for Adelaide because we haven't experienced it.
They don't do the flower beds at.
No, but that's what I'm saying,
And-
this is,
And I guess, having worked with Ann, 100%, the problem with Ann is that's her house. So her level of standard, you're never gonna hit again. And so flower beds, you name it, even if you get a landscaping company, you're not gonna get the same, well, you will get it, but you will pay for it.
yes.
So I think I want to personally thank Ann for going above and beyond, what she was really hired to do. But I think what's happened is that bar has gotten so high, and now this board's gonna have to deal with some expectations. And I think there's gonna be some expectation management by this board.
Thanks.
Maybe by Tim too.
Okay.
I agree with that, what you're saying, but we have now set a level of expectation for those people renting there. And if we're gonna lower the standards that have been performed, we're going to have to justify that to them. You know, and we are also responsible as a board to ensure that the outside of the buildings maintain a semblance of nice. And so I don't want to lower the standards that have been placed at Queen already, because I think, yes, you're right, Ann did an exceptional job, but the bar has now been set and we have to maintain that bar as a board.
Okay, well, I think we need to give Tim some direction here. Frank?
Don't disagree with what anybody's saying. I think we need to make a decision on the two proposals for Adelaide. Is that Adelaide Street or Adelaide Road? Anyway, the cleaning services from the cleaner we're just hiring to the Queen Street building, and then in the next month look at property maintenance overall for the property as well. So, but today we're just yeah.
Would that require a motion?
Yes, it does. Frank, did you want to make a motion?
So why don't we approve the two tenders first in a motion? So I'd make the motion, we approve the tender to Strathroy Residential Cleaning for the cleaning on Adelaide Street property, and the grass cutting contract to Ace Property Management for that building as well. And I assume that's for this year, yeah, for 1 year.
For 1 year, okay? Someone to second the motion? I'll second it. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have concerns, like, I don't do.
Excuse me, Jeff, could you just put your mic on,
Sorry.
because we're being, for the people at home, thank you.
My experience would be if we're gonna have two properties, we've only got quotes on one, we go with one person. I guess we could put it all out for tender and go with a different company for another, for Queen Street, say. But that doesn't feel like the right thing to do to me. It feels, although I know we don't wanna delay.
We need to take care, we can't not clean the property, and we can't not cut the grass, so.
I understand.
And I support what was just said. How long would it take to get a quote from these companies to include Queen Street? Because we need to do Queen Street too.
Tim?
So my recommendation would be that you approve the two that we have, and I could assume that because they came in competitive on this building, that I would assume or hope that they would be competitive on the other property. I think your issue is that if you're gonna wait another month to make these decisions, I mean, we can do temporary cleaning like we have. Western Steam that's on that quote has been coming in to do spot cleaning for us, under my limits that we're allowed to spend. But the outside stuff, we're getting grass like in a week. And, you know, shrubbery and all the rest of it, it needs to be awarded before a month from now, or we're gonna have a hay field. So I don't think waiting till next month to make a decision on these is really adequate. And I don't see that it's gonna change this building. And I also don't think that it really makes a difference whether you have one person doing all of your stuff or whether you have individuals doing different things, because we have 14 properties that we take care of, and I don't have the same cleaning person that does all 14, right?
I think though as a board, we need to, and I think we could also economize a bit too, by combining the two sites. I do believe those two sites should have their snow removal, their landscaping done by the same. Can you not get quotes and we can